Now, the program to help you and your family get fit and stay fit with a biblical foundation without a one-size-fits-all plan. It's Faith Family Fitness with your host, Full Armor Sports and national champion coach, Jason Lupo.
Welcome this morning to Faith Family Fitness on 100.7 The Word. Today's show is about food. Everybody loves food. I love food. It's one of my favorite topics. But this show is about you, your family, your relationship with God, your relationship with your kids, and your health. And so we talk about a lot of different topics. And sometimes I get very passionate about topics. But you'll notice how I didn't say that this show was going to be about diets. There's a buzzword lately, sustainable. You hear sustainable in just about every aspect of life. And we have to make sustainable changes in our lives. And oftentimes dieting probably doesn't fit that bill. It's about making small progressive changes, as we've talked about over the last couple weeks. So we're going to talk more about healthy eating. And I want you to remember that this is not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a registered dietitian. But I'm a coach, and I get asked about nutrition all the time. But as I was preparing to do this show today, my mindset on what I was going to talk about shifted a little bit. And it shifted more and more from dieting back to our food. And so today, we're going to breach the topic of the quality of our food. And I'm going to leave you with some helpful tips on how to make sustainable changes in your life, which will impact the health of your kids and the health of you. And so join us, stay with us as we take this brief time out and come back and listen to us talk about food.
Thanks for listening to Faith Family Fitness, a presentation of Full Armor Sports Teams. Teamwork is at the core of any successful organization. Full Armor Sports, led by national champion coach Jason Lupo, is now registering for school year sports programs. Full Armor is a multi-sport teaching and training organization with homeschool options available. All of Full Armor sports coaches are certified and experts in their field. Full Armor's coaches combine for over 500 years of coaching experience. They will help your kids gain fundamental skills, the concepts of teamwork, essential to being successful throughout their lives. Multiple sports options are available now, from swimming, softball and volleyball, to powerlifting and youth MMA. The faith-based approach to making sports fun and productive are a great choice for your kids at Full Armor Sports Teams. Learn more at fullarmorsportsteams.com.
Welcome back to Faith Family Fitness on 100.7 The Word. If you were born pre-2003 or so, you probably remember the food pyramid. And I'm not talking about the revised food pyramid. I'm talking about the original food pyramid. At the bottom was breads, rice, cereal, pasta. The most substantial food group, they said. 6 to 11 servings of bread, rice, cereal, and pasta was what we were supposed to consume. Followed by the next level of the pyramid, fruits and veggies. And smaller segments of meats and dairy products. And at the very, very top of the pyramid was fats, oils, and sugars. And in 2005, they transitioned to a new pyramid, my pyramid. They way reduced the amount of grains, breads, rice that we were supposed to consume. They made vegetables slightly bigger than fruits. Dairy products increased almost twofold in size. And meats and beans shrunk even more. And fast forward to the latest dietary recommendations that we have, and you'll see my plate. And maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. You can do a quick Google search, my plate, and you'll find what the newest dietary recommendations are. They've removed the pyramid and they've gone to this idea of this is what your plate should look like. And they made some interesting changes when they switched from the pyramid to this plate. The first really interesting one was they put dairy off to the side, almost telling us that dairy should be a part of every single meal that we have. And they replaced the words meat, fish, etc. with just the word protein. And when they came out with this new dietary suggestions, Time magazine wrote an article on January 8th, 2016, titled "Experts Say Lobbying Skewed the U.S. Dietary Guidelines." Government agencies claimed that guidelines are grounded in the most current scientific evidence meant to help people. Remember, trust the science. Well, Dr. David Heber, founder of the Center for Human Nutrition at University of California, uses a couple words and phrases that are a little ahead of their time in 2016. Because this doctor said, it's upsetting to see cycles of misinformation coming back over and over again, stating that the public has been confused and will remain confused by these guidelines. Reminds us awfully close to what has happened recently. Government guidelines confusing the public, not being clear, not truly rooted in the latest science. And so all of this nutrition advice given to the general public has a long history of being misleading for the sole purpose of political gain. After all, we got to remember who put out these suggestions, these guidelines. Who decided what was on the My Plate? Who decided what was on My Pyramid or the original food pyramid? It comes from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They directed all of the pictographs, and they have the sole mission of serving the farming and agricultural industries. So the organization that is trying to protect and promote certain industries is putting out the standards for what U.S. citizens should be eating. And what has these government guidelines gotten us? Well, since the U.S. started putting out dietary guidelines, we have skyrocketing type 2 diabetes. We have an increase of preventable chronic illness. And we have an epidemic of childhood obesity. Go back. Remember when I said that when they switched from My Pyramid to My Plate, they replaced the word protein instead of meat. All of this is dictated by what is going to create political gains. And so the state and national government have started the mission, the push to eliminate meat from our diet. If you remember back a couple of years ago, Jared Polis, our governor in the state of Colorado, had a meat out proclamation, proclaimed a meat-free day. And then we have push for Beyond Meat and meat substitutes. The government is trying to eliminate as much meat from our diets as possible. Well, let me tell you, Genesis 9 tells us that God provided every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. But then again, maybe it's a good thing, after all, that they want meat gone from our diet. after what the USDA has allowed in our slaughterhouses, in our food plants, how they allow big food conglomerates to grow our food. The conditions, the food that they feed our cattle, the conditions that they keep our chickens in, the increased amount of foodborne illness that we've seen in our society growing year after year. The USDA set out to protect its consumers. But really, who are they protecting? Whose financial impacts are they protecting? And we talked the last couple weeks on God's intelligent design. Well, our food is being destroyed by the government, by lobbying, by big food conglomerates that want to turn a profit and could care less about the food quality and what we put in our bodies and how they affect us. After all, the government has even allowed the patenting of life, of modifying the genetic makeup of God's perfect creation. In Genesis 1, God didn't look at all he had created and said, well, it'll be good in 2022 once mankind genetically modifies it. He said, my creation is good. It's perfect. And the sad part is, people don't care. People don't care about the quality of our food. They don't care about what's being put in their body. And so after listening today, I want you to be as passionate as I am about this topic. I want you to make the choice to care. In 2014 in Colorado, a proposition was placed on the ballot that called for mandatory labeling of genetically modified organisms, or GMOs. It was placed on the ballot. We had the opportunity in the state of Colorado to vote to force food companies to label if they had GMOs in them. How much do the people of this state care about what goes in their body? That proposition, that ballot measure, was defeated 65% to 35%. Only 35% of the people in the state of Colorado that voted wanted to know what they were putting in their bodies. After all, if we wanted to know what we were putting in our bodies, we would know that we have hundreds of food additives in our food in the United States that are banned in other countries. But we eat every day. Food dyes, red dyes, yellow dyes, oils, preservatives, BPAs. Potassium bromate is used in almost all of our breads, and it's listed as a carcinogen, a cancer-causing material by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. Olestra, and the list goes on and on. Aspartame, illegal in almost every other country but the United States. And so, going back to the beginning of the show is not about a diet. This show is about food. I love food. I love good tasting food. But at the same time, this show's about you getting healthier. And so if you want to get healthier, if you want to lose weight, I urge you to eliminate a couple processed foods every day. Choose farm-to-table restaurants when you go out to eat. Not big box chains that are going to hold on to all their frozen foods. I love In-N-Out. I don't think that they have, the number one burger in the world. I don't get carried away with In-N-Out. But the thing that I love most about In-N-Out is at least you know the quality of the food that you're eating. And part of the reason why it took In-N-Out so long to expand outside of California and the western states was they had to make sure that they had infrastructure in place to make sure that your food was fresh, that it was local, and that they didn't become a restaurant that was going to be feeding you a ton of things that aren't healthy for you. You can look in the back and watch them cut the fries that they're about to make, that they're about to fry and give you. You see the potatoes. And they aren't using potatoes like some other restaurants that have literally been bred to make sure that every single fry will look the same. Because that's what's happening in a lot of these fast food restaurants. Every fry is looking the same. They will throw out the potatoes that don't match the standard of prettiness. And if you've ever dealt with vegetables, raw vegetables, you know that roots, potatoes are not the prettiest things. And even more so with In-N-Out, you can still get a meal for under $10. And if you look under that cup with that beverage that you've chosen, you'll find a Bible reference. And so you know where your money is being spent. And we vote with our money every day. And so it's not that I think In-N-Out is this phenomenal food, phenomenal restaurant. I think it's a good burger. But more so, it's about the quality of the food. That they've maintained the quality of the food. And there's other restaurants like that. You can find them. You can find farm-to-table restaurants that are using locally sourced foods. But whole foods, eliminating processed foods, eliminating all of these additives in our food, that is how we're going to lose weight. That's how we're going to make substantial changes in our health. You can diet, sure, but most of the diet foods, most of the foods that promise to be healthier for you, or you can lose weight on, look at the back in the ingredient box. Sometimes there's 30, 40 ingredients in one piece of food. How is that natural? How is that part of God's intelligent plan for us in our lives? Make healthy choices. We're going to take a brief time out, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up. But first, we're going to talk about a little bit of the programs and stuff that make this show possible.
Thanks for listening to Faith Family Fitness, a presentation of Full Armor Sports Teams. Teamwork is at the core of any successful organization. At Full Armor Sports, led by national champion coach Jason Lupo, a Christ-centered approach to sports fundamentals and fitness has earned his company the respect of athletes and their parents. Full Armor Sports is committed to helping youth in our community experience growth through sports and to strive for improvement and excellence. Further, youth compete as individuals, coming together with a sense of teamwork, camaraderie, and support for one another. At Full Armor Sports, the reality is achievements, failures, wins, and losses eventually fade away. But the bonds team members form through competition evolve into relationships lasting forever. Learn more at fullarmorsports.com.
Welcome back to Faith Family Fitness on 100.7 The Word. Today we've been talking about food. We've been talking about the quality of our food, the impacts of government regulation, the impacts of dietary guidelines on our health. And if you've enjoyed this conversation, if you've enjoyed this topic, first off, I'd invite you every single Saturday at 9 a.m. to listen to Faith Family Fitness on 100.7 The Word. And I promise to keep you entertained with a lot of interesting topics. And we span a ton of different subjects, all relating to your family, your fitness, your health, and your relationship with God. And if you enjoy this show, I need you to do me a favor and go to fullarmorsportsteams.com. Fullarmorsportsteams.com. Full Armor Sports has been around since 2016. We provided excellent youth programs for kids across Colorado Springs and the Front Range. We have a mission. We want to impact the lives of as many youth as possible. And Full Armor Sports is what makes this show possible. We've just launched our fall swim lessons our year-round school lessons. We have those lessons at Doherty High School and at Woodman Hills for our homeschoolers. And I love our swim lessons. I think we provide some of the best swim lessons in Colorado Springs, and they're the most cost-effective lessons in Colorado Springs. We set out on a mission many years ago to make sure that every single kid had an opportunity to learn how to swim when we started Full Armor Swim Team. We set out on a mission to make sure that every family could make sure that their kids were playing sports regardless of financial impact. And so we made a plan and we decided that we were not going to charge ridiculous amounts of money for your kids to get excellent coaching in whatever sport they play. So our swim lessons are cost effective because making sure that kids know how to swim in this city is important. It's important for their lives, and it may even open up doors. May even open up doors for them to eventually join a swim team, get involved in the community, or even become a lifeguard. And we run our swim lessons a little differently because a long time ago I was told a story directly to me. I was coaching and another family had a kid in swim lessons. And she said to me, listen, I've been taking my kid to this other pool to do swim lessons, and all they do is sit on the wall. And she said that she grabbed a stopwatch on her phone, and she hit the start button every time her kid started to swim and the stop button every time he was on the wall. And in a 30-minute lesson, he had been swimming for 3.5 minutes. So we made sure when we did our swim lessons that we were going to make sure that our kids got what they paid for. They deserve to learn how to swim, and you can't learn anything with 3.5 minutes, 2 days a week, for 6 weeks. And so we've designed our program specifically to make sure that your kids will know how to swim, and that it's cost effective for you and your family because swim lessons can be really expensive. And so if you are interested in swim lessons, I urge you go to fullarmorswimteam.com. If you have other kids, maybe they already know how to swim, check out our swim team. If they're interested in other sports, check out fullarmorsportsteams.com. All of that, armor is spelled the traditional way, ARMOUR. We really enjoy doing this show. We really enjoy impacting the lives of the kids that are in our programs and in our communities. And so I'm super excited to be doing this show every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on 100.7 The Word, and I hope you join us. And remember to be passionate about what we're putting in our bodies. If COVID taught us anything, it should teach us that we need to make decisions for our own health. Decisions in the best interest of our own health, of the health of our kids, of the health of our families. And oftentimes that means thinking outside of the box. Thinking about what it is that's going to be put into our bodies and not necessarily what has been dictated to us by government authorities. Because as we saw, the guidelines change, they're confusing, and they've led to a twofold increase in type 2 diabetes, a twofold, if not threefold increase in preventable chronic illness, and an epidemic of childhood obesity in our country. And so focus on what you put in your body. Don't focus on diets. Don't focus on the latest trends. Focus on eating whole foods, healthy foods, and unprocessed foods. Thank you for joining us today on 100.7 The Word. This is Faith Family Fitness.
This has been Faith Family Fitness with Coach Jason Lupo of Full Armor Sports Teams of Colorado Springs. Join him at the same time next week for Faith Family Fitness on The Word 100.7.